Nature versus nurture. Are you born evil or are you made that way? Is it something intrinsic or is it a result of the environment in which you were raised? Big questions that we get to dive into as we discover the secret history of Whitney Frost and Peggy Carter. On this week's Agent Carter, Season 2, Episode 4, Smoke and Mirrors. Alright, spoilers ahead, just so you've been warned. Okay, so in this week's Agent Carter, we get to get into some backstory. We get to see the story of Peggy Carter, how she was raised, what her particular path to the agent that she is today, and we get to countermand that with Whitney Frost, aka Agnes Cully, and find out how she was raised, what her background is, and what brought her up to be the person that she is today. And it really goes back to how you are supported. Again, a very strong nature versus nurture argument being posed forth here. Peggy was a tomboy. She was rambunctious. She had an older brother, Michael, that she played with outside, get dirty, run around with swords, saving princesses. Peggy saving the princess, not her brother, Michael. And while there was a little bit of, upset with her parents of her getting dirty and maybe not acting ladylike, it was something that was generally supported. And we can countermand this with Whitney Frost, Agnes Cully. She was also a genius, very intelligent, taking apart and fixing radios at a very young age. However, her environment was not nearly as supportive. Her mother was, let's say she had a sugar daddy, okay? We'll be straightforward. Uncle Bud, okay? And if you have an Uncle Bud like that, you're probably not going to turn out really well. The odds are already stacked against you. What a creep. But really what this, again, starts to go into is how are people supported. As Whitney grows up, her mother doesn't really support her science. Her attempts to get into schools are being torn down. She was in the 1928 was when she was given her rejection letter from the Science Academy there. And her mother just uses that to reinforce the fact that people don't like smart girls. It's your looks that are going to get you somewhere. Now again, we counter that with Peggy Carter. As she grows up, she gets into code breaking, very natural, very intelligent, of course, very strong code breaker. And in 1940, she gets a letter from the SOE, the Special Operations Executive. She has been requested to join. She has been recommended, we find out later, by her brother, Michael. Now at this time, Peggy has become more ladylike. She's accepted more of the environment around her. She is getting married. She's engaged. She sees this peaceful, loving future being laid out for her, and her brother doesn't believe it for a moment. When they're at her engagement party, the first thing he says is, I've been practicing. I can knock these back just like you, which is showing that Peggy's background prior to this was still a bit more rambunctious. She was a bit more challenging, and that is how her brother sees her. She is trying, of course, to get away from that. No, I'm a lady. I have to be ladylike. But with his death, she is forced to see who she really is. What Michael was trying to put into her is, this genteel lady is not who you are. You are an intelligent person looking for adventure. You need to be out and doing something. You need to be engaged in the world, not standing back, cooking dinner and waiting for your husband to come home. It's with his death that she sees what he was meaning and the reality for it. In fact, you could probably say that to honor him in some ways is maybe why she really accepted the SOE invitation and turned down the marriage proposal, walked away from her marriage. And then, of course, later on, she got to meet Steve Rogers, Captain America, really fall in love with somebody that she actually cared about. And I think that's what Michael was trying to tell Peggy is, you have created an illusion based on what the world is expecting you to do, and you need to be true to yourself. And again, we throw this back to Whitney, who again is being rejected told by her mother, this is the only way that you are going to succeed in the world is by your looks. This is what's important, not what's up in here. And she takes that to heart. She moves off to Hollywood and she gets offered an acting job. And you can see right at the end, the way that it is presented is most likely she followed kind of the path of her mother. She slept with people in order to get ahead, to get her role. They don't say anything, but they really heavily imply by the interaction between her and the agent that finally discovers her. So for Whitney, it is putting out a false front in order to hide your interior, and that's what's going to allow you to get far in the world, and then you can, manipulate it from the inside. With Peggy, it's the opposite. Don't put out a front. Be exactly who you are. That's how you're going to succeed. So that is kind of the two sides that we have right here. There's Peggy Carter, who is being true to herself, and then there's Whitney Frost, who is putting a face out onto the world, which kind of is an interesting parallel back to the way the dark force is affecting her. It is kind of forcing her to throw that away and accept the new reality that is inside of her. And apparently all that takes is a cage full of rats. When she starts out looking at things, she's very nervous, very unsure. By the time that cage of rats is empty, she is very accepting. What was once, hey, I'm going to come and do the Life magazine spread, just give me some time to get ready, becomes, I'm sick, I'm not going to show up, I don't care. There's a level of acceptance after that, and that is probably a result of consciously allowing that dark force in. She is becoming darker. Meanwhile, in the present, 1947 present, we have Carter and Salzo going after Rufus Hunt. He is the head of security over at the Arena Club. He is Chadwick's driver, and he has a hand injury right where Peggy shot her attacker. So obviously, that's him. They kidnap him, they torture him. It's just a great sequence of showing the dichotomy of Peggy Carter. I love how they set that up between her old scene when she just got the offer of the SOE. I don't think I'm that kind of lady. And the next shot is her stabbing him in the neck with the malaria drug. It's actually just the intense cold. An intense cold for him to try and get him to reveal the information. And of course, he does. Just a little background. The main thing is the Council of Nine, the people in the secret room of the Arena Club, they record everything. And that gives them the urge to get a warrant and to go after and to get that information. And before that can happen, Vernon Masters from the War Department with the cock block. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have put it that way. But you know exactly what I mean. Steps right in, knocks him out. Hey, we have to do we have to kind of look into all of your work right here. We have to do an audit on you. Put all your shotguns down, let's have a conversation. And that conversation was a really nice tete-a-tete. Kurtwood Smith is just amazing in this role. Just great character work, very gritty, very menacing in his own way. And like I said, a nice tete-a-tete between him and Carter with the basic threat of bringing up the search for communism. And that's referring back to the House Un-American Activities. Now in 1947, probably around this time, that's when the big Hollywood blacklist started. And this isn't to be confused with Joseph McCarthy. He was a senator, different group, and that happened more in the 50s. The House Un-American Activities actually started in 1938, searching for Nazi sympathizers, and then moved on from there, basically anything that was a threat to the U.S. And with the advent of communism, and the fear of the liberal left-wing view in Hollywood, that's when they were starting to clamp down. So that is where Vernon's threat really is hitting home. Yes, a wave is coming, and you might be able to stay afloat, but likelihood your friends are not. Nice threat that Peggy quickly throws away. Little bit of concern when she brings up her friends, but there's a nice, again, back moment when Salza comes up and throws that exact line back. It's like, oh yeah, I got that speech too. Let's move on. We're not going to be intimidated. Really just great moments right there. And then you have Wilkes, who is starting to slip into the dark force maybe a little bit more. He is seeing that crack of energy, which is very reminiscent to the film that we saw when the dark force had pulled in that explosion. That similar crack that we saw. Same thing going on with Whitney's face. So he's starting to drift off there. Peggy, of course, trying to drive him to hold on more. You have to be a fighter. You have to go on. So I'm kind of curious where that's going to bring in, if that's going to eventually pull Wilkes away, if that is a sign of something else, something to look forward to. And I just want to be sure to say, James D'Arcy is hilarious. He is totally the comic relief, and especially playing the very straight-laced kind of British man. Whenever he drifts off in any kind of direction to the extreme is just perfectly carried out. Best example is Tough Jarvis as the cop pounding on Rufus's door to try and get him to flush out. It was just hilarious. And the way he's trying to talk to the neighbor, "Go back into your place, ma'am, this is important police work." It was just great. And then he gets drugged and he goes out. It's marvelous. Anyway, just really plays a great comic foil in with Peggy, and you're starting to see the three of them of Sousa, Peggy, and Jarvis together. The three back and forth is just a lot of comedy, great levity, just a nice combination. They got really good actors, they got really great writing, and the cast is definitely having a blast with it, and we can see it. So all of this ends is Whitney reveals herself to her husband. Does that by sucking in the traitorous Rufus Hunt, who was hired because he was so tough because he wouldn't break. Everyone breaks, folks. It's just a basic rule. You can be tough as you want, but it's like geology. It only takes two things, time and pressure. Enough pressure at the right point for long enough, everybody breaks. Obviously, this guy was unbroken, and in 20 minutes, Peggy broke him with a shot in the neck of an intense cold. So, not super tough. So, she pulls him in, reveals herself to her husband, and of course, every time that she uses the dark force, that crack extends upon her head, and maybe that is why she will eventually get the Madame Mask, because it looks like that there's a mask around her. I'm not sure. I believe the Madame Mask was able to look like anyone she wanted to, and as an actress, that would be a great power to have, because it would complement your own internal abilities. I'm not quite sure where they're going to take this. This is what we're going to have to watch. But we've got everything all set, and Whitney is embracing the idea that was sort of thrown to her from the agent, and that is what she says to her husband at the very end. This is Hollywood. You can be whatever you want. And now that Whitney isn't hiding anymore, she's going to be whatever it is that she wants. And like I said, nurture versus nature. The way she was raised, where she's going, her involvement with the Marina Club, you know it's not going to end well. And that is it for the week. Please press like if you enjoyed what I had to say. Feel free to subscribe. Comments in the section below. I always appreciate it. Dan, you are the man. Ichiban #1. I really appreciate your comments back. It means a lot to me. It makes me want to come back week after week. If you're enjoying The Agent Carter, by the way, I am also doing reviews of Starz Channel Black Sails, a great pirate adventure in the middle of the 3rd season. I would highly recommend catching seasons 1 and 2, catching up and going into season 3. Really an incredibly well done show. Great acting. They shoot it down in South Africa. They use giant tall ships. It's just an amazing epic, really well done. Little backstory with the Treasure Island group of Captain Flint and Long John Silver back in the 3rd age, the golden age of piracy. It's an amazing show. I do reviews. They're on Saturday nights. I usually have my reviews out on Monday because I work weekends and I can't always do this then. So, you can always check those out. I'd appreciate it. I'm D, and I am out of here. I will catch you guys next week.